broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another amazing AfterBuzz TV after show for your favorite show. It's The Expanse, and we're on Season 1, Episode 1. It's the very first premiere episode of the series, and I'm joined here by my awesome and lovely co-host.
Hey guys, I'm Maria Cavassuto. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at MGCVSST.
Oh, very good. And if I didn't say my name, I'm Sean Overman, and you guys can find me at Sean Austin O on Twitter and Instagram. And let me just start off by saying this is an amazing show. And I love that Tom Jane,
leading the pack.
He's leading the pack. He played the Punisher. He was in Hung as the main character there. I just love this guy. He's in so many movies. Great television show actor too. And I'm glad to see him here. What are your thoughts on the show and him?
So I'm a huge fan of him, but basically because of the Punisher. I mean, like that's what I really remember him from. So when I was like, oh, Thomas Jane, definitely going to be checking this out.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, I think anything he goes on for television, it just like turns to gold. So, and as we know, like in this show, air and water are more precious than gold in space. Yeah. According to what's the intro. So let's start off. There's so much because it's a first premiere episode.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of info. Am I right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about what is going on in this universe. Okay, so it's based on 2 books, right? Didn't get the author's name, but we'll talk about him more next time.
Yeah.
Did you get his name?
Really quickly, I think it's actually it's a duo. They go under a pen name, James S.A. Corey. So yeah, it's like these 2 guys who kind of collaborate, work together. And I think the novella that this is based off of won a Hugo Award in 2012. Wow. So
that's high praise for sci-fi.
That is some high praise for sure.
For sci-fi writers, that's a really good award to win.
I think that's pretty much the most.
Yeah. So it's in the 23rd century, right? Yeah. So 300 years into the future. The humans have colonized the Sol system, or the solar system, yes. And we have 3 big powers.
We do.
That are struggling in the universe among humans. Now we're separated into, we got Belters, we got Earthers, and we got Dusters, who are the Mars people or Martians.
Yeah, Martians. I don't know why they wouldn't just call them Martians, but hey.
I guess it sounds like funkier to like, you think of Martians being like aliens, right? Not humans. Anyway, so. And we were talking about Ceres, and we discovered what did you research about Ceres, and who is it associated with?
Wait.
It's the Ceres, the moon. Okay, so
sorry. So Ceres is actually totally got lost for a second. Ceres is actually the largest rock per se, or the largest asteroid in the belt between, I think it's like Mars and Jupiter, and then Luna is like just the moon, right?
Yeah, but, for Earth.
But yeah, exactly. It's kind of like it's after Mars, I believe.
Yeah, I guess so. Ceres is so it's after Mars. It's in between Mars and Jupiter.
Yeah, that's what I read looking it up online.
Yeah, I haven't researched it yet, but I've heard of Ceres a lot. You know, like growing up, I'm a little bit into astronomy and stuff. So I thought that it was actually one of the moons of Jupiter, but I could be wrong.
I'm not sure there, but I do know that for this case, because they call it the rock. I mean, I would assume it's the asteroid in the belt.
Yeah, it could be an asteroid too, where they're mining. So they mine for ice off of Ceres, and it's a UN protectorate. So the UN, which is obviously Earth, is controlling that area pretty much. So it's kind of like us, I don't know, like back in the colonial periods, like we had, like the United States had places that they were protecting.
Yeah, like kind of like a colony type deal, maybe?
Yeah, it's kind of like a colony, or like I don't know, maybe could be like us with like Puerto Rico, definitely.
Or territory, right? Like a territory.
Yeah, like a territory. Like definitely, like back during the World War II time, you could analogize it as us protecting the Philippines.
Yeah.
So that's like a UN protectorate. So like we said, water and air, very precious. And then there's like so much tension between everybody, and sparks are going to fly. Sparks are going to blow this whole powder keg of a war into
It's just going to
being.
blow right up. I mean, it's funny how you can just see that within just some of the lingo that they use, which they call like some of the people that I think grown up in low gravity. I mean, they're long bone, because they're like these tall people, or refusing to take kind of like the arm from anybody who's not like somebody from the belt, because they like don't want to like associate themselves with anybody else. And even just Miller, so Thomas Jane's character,
Right.
Again, it's kind of like pushed aside because they consider him, siding with Earth because he's a police officer.
Right, because he's a badge.
Detective, sorry. Yeah, a badge.
He looks like a detective, especially because he's got the fedora on.
Yeah,
right?
little hat.
yeah, he's the only person who wears a fedora in
Yeah,
space, which is cool because it does symbolize to us that he's a detective, right? And they call him badges. They call them other things too. Like there is some of that Creole belter that I couldn't quite like catch, like because I didn't realize the first time I saw it that was Creole belter. I knew they were saying a different language, but I didn't know like what it was and what the words were. But now seeing the captions, I'm like, oh,
Yeah, Creole, Belter Creole, or
yeah. There's like physical words that are out there. It's its own language. Obviously it's like in space for 300 years. There's got to be some new language that develops. Am I right?
Which is kind of cool. I've seen that this show has really been compared to like, a kind of like obviously Battlestar Galactica, but a Game of Thrones, but in space.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because they also have their own language here too. Something that's like, very unique to the show. It's not something that you just kind of took from somewhere else. So that's kind of cool. They're just really, really building this world off of what the novel and the novella kind of sets up.
Right, and we have the Star Helix Security, which is what the badges are working for. Am I right? So we have Miller's character working for them.
Right, and then they're actually, so Earth, it's kind of like, I guess, their way of having some sort of presence on the belt as well. So that's why I think there's a lot of animosity as well between some of the characters and Miller that you would see just in the first, few scenes, because he's an Earth sympathizer, quote unquote.
Yeah, I think anybody who works with like Star Helix Securities, they're probably like we even had that one guy who was doing the speech among the crowd on the series, and I think it looked like they were in like a slum area kind of, right? And he was saying how they're all slaves and the man's holding us down, which is pretty much the United Nations or Earth, right? Yeah. And then Mars too. So they're like stuck, all the Belters are stuck in between. It doesn't matter who's going to be controlling Ceres because Mars and Earth are both vying for having Ceres. Right now the UN controls it, but eventually it seems like Mars, who's a dominant war power in the Sol system, wants to probably take over.
Yeah, and resources are just so controlled in a way, and they're so scarce, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be, I feel like, the play throughout this whole season and throughout the whole show.
And that one guy who was sermonizing, I guess, he was saying how there was so much ice, like oceans and oceans of ice worth, right? But because the UN and Mars have been both strip mining it, that it's like down to virtually nothing. So there's no water. There's no, they have to ration their air, and they don't want to do that. They just want to be free, right?
Yeah. And just have, a little bit more control over themselves, really, because they're just being kind of pulled in both directions almost.
Yeah, let's talk about the characters more, because there were so many characters that got introduced, and I was trying to write down all of them, but there's so many. So some of the big ones, there's Thomas Jane, the actor, is playing Miller.
Yeah.
So he's obviously the main character, right? So we have, I love how there's so many shows that just have a detective or a cop as the main character, because they get to encounter so much stuff and a lot of antagonism among characters, which is great.
But it's also kind of, they play a little bit of a balance, because I feel like he's definitely got maybe a bad side, maybe a rogue side to him, but at the same time he has the good side where it's you want to fight for the people, which we see during that, that we'll talk about later, but the air filter guy. Yeah,
exactly. Then we also have Stephen Strait playing Holden. He's from 10,000 BC. I didn't see that film, but was he the main? Oh, you don't know. You didn't see it either.
No, I didn't see that one either.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's the main character, the main caveman, or the main was it Homo sapien that emerges? I'm not sure. But he's famous for that. Then we have Dominic Tipper, who plays Naomi. Beautiful, by the way. Oh my gosh.
She's got cool hair too. I really enjoy. I like it because she kind of looks really badass. You know?
Yeah, she does look like a badass. Like she almost looks like a Ripley type character.
Yeah,
like
totally.
The strong woman that you don't want to mess with in space.
Ripley, my all-time favorite.
Yeah. And then we had very briefly we had Kristen Hager, who's from another sci-fi show that I did the after show for, Being Human. She played Aid. And she got blown up. She got blown to bits.
It's one episode, right?
I know.
That's so sad.
I know, right? We have, let's see, Wes Chapman. He plays Amos. He's one of the guys who went on the away team to visit the Scopuli.
Right, with Holden.
Yeah, and then we have Shorin Agashilo.
I think it's Shore Agadashlu.
Agadashlu. Okay, she plays UN Deputy Secretary or like Undersecretary Avara Sala. I'm butchering that name.
I think it was a Christian and then Avara Sala.
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds like pretty right.
Yes, yeah. So she seems like she's the main person representing the UN and Earth. So we have we have two sides of represented in this show so far. We haven't seen anybody representing Mars yet.
Yeah, we have not. I mean, the only thing that we suppose, I guess, is Mars, which I mean makes sense, would be those torpedo things that come out way at the end.
Yeah, ship that had like a cloaking device on it.
Or even just the mentions that they do about Mars, but we haven't actually seen anybody from there.
Exactly. Oh, we maybe saw someone on the TV screens with all the news coverage that was going on, and it kept showing the UN deputy and then somebody else, and then maybe someone who's representing the Belters.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
we'll have to see what comes next if they show any more of that.
Yeah, but Shore, the actress, Agadashlio, I hope I got that right. She's been in so much television. She's in Grimm. She's in a movie, in that series, Percy Jackson, and then she was also in a series that I loved, Flash Forward, that only lasted I think 1 or 2 seasons, and it was so good. And I remember she was in there too, like being like behind the scenes, like one of the puppeteers.
I actually remember her very well from 2 movies, The Stoning of Soraya M, and then also from House of Sand and Fog with Ben Kingsley, which is, like I was telling you, it was one of the saddest movies I think I've ever seen. Cried for about 30 minutes, so if you ever feeling a good cry fest, go for it.
Oh my gosh.
But she plays, she kind of plays more of like a mother character in both of those, so it's interesting. This is very, like, she's a grandma in this one. And it seems like she's got a lot of power.
Oh yeah, she's a UN deputy secretary, so it seems like she's playing the diplomacy side in the news, but then when she comes down to it, she's actually like the interrogator, like the person coming in and doing the physical interrogations.
Yeah, it's almost like the diplomacy is kind of like, out the window right there, and it's like they take almost if it were like a hostage situation, but not, I guess, torturing him.
Yeah, she's torturing this guy, and she's accusing him of being a terrorist.
Yeah, of a terrorist.
Yeah.
She's really trying to protect whatever it is that they threaten, which I would assume is Earth.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the only 2 scenes we see her in, right next to each other in this first episode so far. We also have Athena Karkanis, and she is Athena Karkanis Octavia Muss, and she is one of the coworkers or one of the detectives who works alongside Miller, and he had like that little scene where he touched her hand.
Something might be going up there. Maybe an X-shipping of sorts.
Yeah, an X-shipping, exactly. We also had Paulo Costanzo, who plays Shed, and I didn't get to see what else he's been in, but I know I always used to see him playing like the nerdy character in a lot of movies and TV shows.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't remember now. Like, is he also on with Holden?
Yes, he's with Holden on the night.
I just want to make sure.
That shuttle that they were using to like go in between the 2 ships.
On the night with a K though, which is like such a fun name.
yeah, it's great. And then Jay Hernandez, who plays Havelock from Hostel. The first Hostel. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen him in that much stuff, but it's amazing to see him on a show like this because I know he's going to get a lot of screen time too.
I did not remember that he was from Hostel.
Mm-hmm. He was the guy that survived in Hostel.
Yeah. Oh, that's a gory movie.
Yes, but he's really, that was like 10 years ago, and he's really changed a lot since then, and he looks more mature, he looks more fit, he's lost some of that baby fat, he's getting buffer, getting more fit.
Yeah, looks good.
He has to look good next to Tom Jane. That is no easy feat.
Well, I mean, Tom Jane is a little I guess, a bit of an icon in a way. So I mean, like you're up against him. You got to hold your own. Which is he's like the rookie, so they don't assign him to the mission with looking for Julie Mao, who's gonna be. She's who we see at the beginning, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the girl we see at the beginning. And the last character I want to mention is Cass. The actor is Cass Anvar, and he plays Alex, and he's the pilot for the Knight, and I guess he was the pilot as well for the other ship, the Canterbury, but he switched over, and then they had another bonehead pilot who got them blown up. Not really. It wasn't that
Looking good for them.
Yeah. Wah, wah. It wasn't their fault. So there are so many characters. I don't even think we have scratched the surface with the amount of characters we're going to see in this, because I liked the analogy that you mentioned. It's like Game of Thrones in space. I know it's like, if it could be the sci-fi Game of Thrones equivalent, that would be it. Amazing. I'm on this show every week, so I'm going to be like super happy talking about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you got the power play of all the territories, which I mean in this case are actually only, I guess, 3 for now, but it's kind of that, to see how that develops in the dynamic and see who wins, maybe. Yeah,
or see what happens, like the diplomacy and everything. But let's go ahead and start talking about like what happens in the actual episode. So the episode opens up with Julie Mao, the character, Juliet Andromeda Mao.
Yeah, Juliet Andromeda Mao. That's pretty epic name there.
Yeah, super cool, super sophisticated. We don't know who she is at all. We don't know how important she is.
We just know that she's a millionaire's daughter.
Yeah, well, leading up to that, then we find out after they mention her and they give her like background and all that. But when the show opens up on her, she's just like floating in space. She's trapped. She's banging on the doors to open it up and get out.
Yeah, clearly not at home.
Yeah, she must have been there for a while, floating around. She's probably running out of air. She's running out of water. She even sucked up that tiny little bead droplet in space. The special effects for this show are amazing.
I was going to say the same thing. The only thing that kind of like threw me off balance, again, the torpedoes at the end. But other than that, I was really impressed.
I like the torpedoes too, actually. I didn't see anything wrong with them. I think, what was it that you didn't like?
I guess, it's not that I didn't like them, but that's when I was like, oh, we're watching like maybe a TV show, not a movie.
Oh,
that's when I was like, okay, because I think the production value is maybe like not as high.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a TV show, and I think everything else is so well executed that, ignore me.
Yeah, you could take, that's okay, right? Brownie points to the special effects guys for all the gravity type stuff that they're doing, especially with her at the beginning. She looks like she's literally underwater, but it's floating in space.
And it's beautiful. I feel like it looks so amazing.
It looks so good. Oh my gosh. And so she is floating around the ship. She goes to the engineering room for an SOS, right? She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know, nothing gets explained to us. We're just plopped into this along with her.
Yeah.
And she goes into the engineering bay, and there's some kind of light coming out of the engine.
Some sort of force, some sort of, yeah.
Yeah, and it's sucking people in? Did it look like to you?
I
Yeah, I can't tell. It's very, very ambiguous, which is the great thing about this.
She's clearly really perturbed by it. I mean, ending, yelling. So I'm assuming it's something very horrible.
Yeah, she's screaming, and I actually feel like it could be a creature of some kind. That was my first thought. Like, I'm thinking, what's that one movie? God, I forget. Steven, if you're on, tell me, what is that one film with the guy who plays Morpheus and the guy who was in Jurassic Park as Dr. Grant? And the Event Horizon. Never mind, I got it. Yeah. Thank you, Steven. So Event Horizon, it reminds me of that. Like, something is in the engine of the ship, and it's like it's like supernatural in some way. Like, I don't want to like go that far with this show already. If it did, I would be fine with it too. But it just seems like that's my answer. That's my immediately go-to response.
Yeah, mine would be something related to Mars. I feel like, because they're like the independent kind of like military faction per se on the show, so I would say it's something related to that.
Okay, I could see that. I'm gonna do an early prediction. I'm gonna say it's some kind of mine or bomb that was planted in the engine room.
Yeah.
And it's like it like sucks people into like a black hole kind of thing.
And since we don't really know how, I guess, she got there, at least for now, it could be specifically targeted towards her because she is a multimillionaire's daughter. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's all sorts of, I guess, question marks, but we'll see.
Yeah. I want to say she's like the Paris Hilton of space.
Yeah. Although
maybe.
Maybe. A little less, that's hot, you know. She seems a little more like, and I know she's some sort of, I think, pilot or something like that, so she's cooler.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, she could probably, she looks a lot more like, she looks like she's really talented and rugged, so, she's obviously, you know, good enough to, like, be working in space and get around and use the pry bars and stuff to open up the space ports, or space doors, rather. Let's talk more about Miller. So we get introduced to him with Havelock at his side, and we already see him, like, doing, what was he, what was he doing? What was the very first scene? Oh, that's when that one sermonizing guy called him out in the crowd. And he's, like,
drinking something, and he's like, yo, badge, or whatever, and he calls him out, and he turns around, and he's like, yo, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But him and Havelock, he looks more, okay, so Miller looks more like a belter, right? He definitely doesn't look like he's from Mars, because he's not super clean cut. When he takes off his hat, we see that...
He's got like a shaved side, well, buzz cut maybe, and then like this is long. So he looks a little...
Definitely looks futuristic.
Yeah.
But not too futuristic.
But it's got a hint, you know?
Yeah.
I
like it too, yeah. It's like, there's some people doing that in our culture these days, you know, just to look a little hip, you know, and it definitely makes him stand out and look more rugged.
Yeah, it doesn't make him as clean cut, I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little out there.
So he's probably been living on the belt for a while, so he knows how to blend in more with the locals, but everybody can still spot him because they're like, okay, you're a badge, like right away from picking him out of the crowd.
Yeah, I think he's actually, if I'm not mistaken with what I read on syfy.com, is that he was born and raised on Ceres.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, so then he is a belter.
He's totally a belter through and through.
Okay, very good. Even though he's employed by the United Nations.
Yes, and the Earth. And that's why they call him whatever, I can't remember the name now because it's obvious, I think it's in that belter Creole, but they call him a traitor to the people or something.
Walla.
Walla, yes?
Yes, that's what I wrote down.
So yeah, they call him a traitor because he is a belter, but he's working for Earth.
Yeah.
But I assume he wants to be kind of like on the winning side. I don't know. There's a lot of winning that I'm feeling is going to happen here.
There's some more jargon within that scene that I wanted to mention too. So when the guy was saying slave, the sermonizing dude, he was saying slave. He also mentioned like imbobo betalota, and
very nice.
Yeah, thank you. And then later on they say like keya, and I think that means like right, like when they say it at the end of something, it's like, hey, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. And then we also have like showa. They say showa. I don't know what that means.
I remember hearing that too.
Yeah. So it caught some of that in the beginning of the episode too. They also said misasa sometimes, and I think that part means sir.
Sir.
Yeah, it's like a sign of respect.
Okay.
Because we had it, like, fast forward a little bit, we have Miller in that turbo lift. That's what I'm going to call it, because I'm thinking Star Trek here. So we have them in that turbo lift getting around Ceres asteroid, or the Ceres body, whatever, the celestial body, whatever it is. I still won't think it's a moon.
No.
No? It's an asteroid?
I think it's an asteroid.
Okay.
I feel they called it a rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
but I mean, I guess you could say that a moon is a rock too.
Moon's a rock too. Planets are rocks too.
Yeah. Well, let's call it Ceres then, I guess.
So they're getting around Ceres on the turbo lifts, and pretty much like the subway lines of Ceres. And we have him encounter this guy who he's supposed to do an inspection on, but he doesn't do it because the guy pays him off.
Exactly.
Right?
Air filter guy.
Air filter guy, that's what we're going to call him. And he gives him, we don't know how much the currency is worth.
No, I mean, that's not explained, I guess, yet.
But it's so funny because later on, we see him like playing with it, and you hear it clicking, and it sounds so plastic.
It's like casino chips.
It's like casino chips. But it's kind of like, it's funny because to us it's like, oh, it looks like play money, you know? And then in my mind I'm thinking that's probably what he, like, not play money, but that's probably what he feels when he sees it. He's like, is this worth it? You know, is this really worth anything?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And he's like, or maybe, you know, I don't know what he's thinking there, but that would be a good point.
Yeah. So anyway, backtracking a little bit regarding the Julie Mao case, we see him enter the police station, the security headquarters.
Yep.
And we can see right away that he is a hard ass because he bangs this other, like, this criminal's head on the glass, and everybody knows him. The guy's like, I know who you are. I'm going to get you later. I won't kill you. Whatever, right?
Yeah. I think it's funny. He's kind of like act first, think second, maybe. Just kind of like that brute force, because he doesn't even look, I mean, he just sees something happening and like, wham, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever.
And that's Olivia Muss, who's one of the other detectives, or the other badges there. And Yeah, and then she's like, hey, what are you doing? I had the guy. If I needed to bash his head in, I would have.
Yeah, I could have done that myself.
Yeah, exactly. And we have another dude who's like off in the background. I'm going to call him Porn Stash Guy.
Okay.
Because he has a little bit of
he had something going on, yeah. Very, very heavy on the top.
Yeah, it was a little heavy. And then Miller gets called in, and that's where we have the whole Julie Mao thing happen. And his boss, I didn't get her name. Did you get? Oh, Shadid.
Shadid. Or Shadid. I don't know. But
yeah, probably Shadid. I like that better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds more legit that way. So Shadid pretty much gives him the whole spiel on Julie Mao, and you need to find this girl. We're contracted on this case, and I like their iPads that they have.
Yeah,
switching it over to his iPad. I've uploaded it to the net
just
for
here you go.
Yeah, and so he's got an iPhone equivalent. And I like the touch that they put on there with the crack. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I saw that too. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, it makes it feel more real. It's like, that's what happens to everybody's iPhones.
Yeah,
especially
can't be perfect.
No, it can't be perfect, especially when you're a guy who's like probably getting into brawls all the time.
I would imagine he's got some sort of scuffed up appliances going around.
Yeah, his tools. Yeah, exactly. So he gets that. That's how he gets all the info, and they're supposed to keep it off the books, and it's a kidnap job, apparently, to put it simply.
Yeah, I mean, taking Julie Mao. Is that what you mean by kidnap?
Yeah,
taking her.
Oh, yeah.
And then seeing if she's on series. I think that's what was said, or at least agreed upon. But I know that I found it interesting that, the rookie's not allowed to come along.
Yeah, he's too much of a good guy.
Yeah.
He's too green, maybe, or he's just too, straight-laced.
Yeah. But do you think maybe he'll bring him in later?
I think we could, yeah. Maybe, the end of this season or, the beginning of next season, because he needs a partner. Miller can't be going around doing everything by himself.
No, I don't think so. I think having a partner is always a safe bet if you're a detective.
Yeah. I was going to say, we can't have an actor like Jay Hernandez be on here and not have a significant role.
And then all of a sudden just put him to the back burner and be like, oh yeah, hey Jay, what's up?
Yeah.
Peace.
Or have him get killed next episode. That would be terrible.
Although that surprised me for sure, but we'll get to that later.
Yes, exactly. So there was more stuff that happened with him. He had, there was also the homicide scene.
Yeah.
Where there was this dude who was killed and then this girl who was there. I want to say that it felt like there was a prostitution thing going on. What would you say?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't want to call it out or anything like that, but I feel like that's the vibe that I got, for sure.
That's what it seemed like. But then you can see how good this episode really demonstrated Miller's strengths a lot and his weaknesses too.
Yeah.
So he obviously likes to drink a lot.
Yes. Yes, he does.
We even had, and we got Olivia telling him that, hey, you need to eat something.
You look like, you look like hell.
Yeah, exactly. And we got to see that there's a little bit of chemistry between them, like they had some previous romance.
Yes, I think so too. I think there was some sort of, shipping.
Yeah, shipping. He gave her a little touch of the hand there.
Yeah, and it felt really, uncomfortable. It's like, yo, it's almost like when that happened, she's like, yo, you're my ex, don't touch me. We're done here. We're not doing this anymore.
And he knows how to game her, though, because he touched her just enough, and he pulled back, and he put his hand on his face, just like,
I make you uncomfortable, but only just enough.
Yeah, just enough to make you miss me. That kind of a thing.
And those little chats we have, or whatever he tells her.
Yeah, exactly. He needed a reason to go over there to talk to her. When in that scene when they're talking about, he really, even though he asked her about Julie Mao, he really just wanted to talk to her.
I feel like, I actually thought he was, gonna kind of hit on her and kind of have maybe his romantic side of the story, his plot line kind of develop right there and start. But no, he actually had business. But it was kind of covered in the flirtatious bit.
Yes.
So he's a player. In many senses of the word.
He seems like it.
Yeah.
He knows how to get around series.
Yeah.
Socially and, I guess, systemically, he knows how to navigate everything.
Yeah, and when words don't work, he just, beats the crap out of someone, and then we're good to go. That's how he works.
So the air filter guy who he paid off ends up, not checking the filters or not cleaning them, he was probably not going to do anyway.
Yeah.
Right? But this time it got out of control, and then we have kids and a bunch of people suffering because, one of the air filters exploded in the slum.
I think there were, same thing. It's the inspection, they're cheap, they're not being kept up to standard, and then you have kids and, people who probably don't live in the best of the areas inside series, maybe, getting, the brunt of it. So I like it that you kind of have this little turn where it's we go from, road cop, where it's pay me whatever, whatever, to like, oh, these kids are suffering, and he, you know, puts the guy in the airlock and starts taking away his oxygen and shows him a valuable lesson.
That was super cool because it shows that he's a dirty cop taking the money.
Yeah.
Right? And we see how Havelock is really straight-laced. He's like, hey, you got paid off by him, and this is what happened. And then he mentions, like, hey, everybody's getting paid off by this dude.
Yeah.
Okay? So don't try to change the whole department overnight. So I think Havelock's, like, super, super new.
Yeah, he must be. Very green.
Very green. And then we get to see the sensitive side, the side of Miller that cares about kids and cares about innocents getting hurt, even though he kind of, like, looks down on them because he's a cop, they're everybody else.
Yeah, but I think that little bird coming in, even that is just shows like this kind of innocence. And I love the little play of like, you know, because the gravity's kind of lower there, it just kind of floats. It makes it really like ethereal and kind of, you know, beautiful to look at. But I think that kind of wakes him up a little bit. It's just like innocence, you know, in a little birdie. So, and then he sees the kids playing, and it's like, whoa, 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 I got to do something about it, you know?
Yeah, I like that. The kids playing with the ball, too, is kind of funky. It looked like some kind of weird gravity ball, didn't it?
Yes, I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be very heavy so that it won't, like, float up.
Or it could, that's a good point, or it could be, like, heavy on purpose to get them playing with heavy things to make their muscles stronger.
Yeah,
in
maybe
space.
a little bit, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was interesting how, like, when Christian of Arasala, I guess, you know, the UN deputy, she takes this guy, the OPA terrorist or suspected, and he's so weak.
Super weak.
Super weak.
Yeah.
So that's just another way that I feel like Earth has control over these people, and it just sucks.
Yeah, but, you know, I feel like we get to see the long bone aspect because he is so tall and long compared to her.
Yeah, and he's almost like hanging. Oh, you know, yeah, he looks like a noodle. But yes, the long bone thing is there.
He looked like so darker and paler compared to her. There was a really specific contrast, and I like the cinematography in that scene where we just have like this extreme, like bright filter on her, and it shows off all the colors and her tan skin, and she's so strong looking and beautiful. And he just looks like,
corpse, practically.
It looks like a corpse. He's even like, he looks so long and thin and tall, but he's super weak because he's been growing in space and been getting like, that's another thing they get. They get these hormone injections in space.
Yeah, it looks like that's what they were doing with the guy with the shakes, yeah?
Yes.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah, exactly. They were mentioning something about that. So we have him, this long bone guy, probably like in space, he's gotten all big, but he's not used to Earth's gravity. So they had him in a tank, which is water crushing you even more and then putting you, like, taking you out of that hell and putting you in the air and the gravity of Earth. Oh, man.
Does not sound like fun.
No, it doesn't. It sounds awful.
It does. It sounds very awful. But I like that you mentioned that the color thing, because I feel like it also represents just, like, I guess her Earth and, like, what she's kind of vying for, and then, like, everything else.
Yeah, like the darkness of space, the lack of light.
Yeah.
We actually had the XO mention that on the ship.
Yeah.
So on the Canterbury now, we got a separate storyline going on with Holden. We get introduced to him and his friends. They're mining the ice on the outside of the ship. Paj, who's one of the characters, loses his arm, which is so funny, and it's like drifting off into space. And
little droplets too of blood, just like trailing it.
And I kind of was reminded of, I forgot the name. It's something space, like it's this like Resident Evil in space kind of game. It was reminding me of that because it was just like floating out. Steven, do you know the name of that? Anyway, so.
What was it again? Sorry.
There's like some game in space where it's like, it was super popular a few years ago, and it was like Resident Evil in space though.
Oh, Dead Space.
Dead Space.
Dead Space.
Yeah,
Oh.
that series, because they have, you saw that in the episode, Steven, like pretty much the arms floating out, and it's like total throwback to Dead Space, right? So anyway, then we have the arm floating towards one of the cabins on the ship, and someone's having sex space in the cabin.
Yeah, zero gravity sex.
Yes, and that's
coming to a theater near you.
Yes. That's great because we get to meet two of the characters there. We get to meet Aide, and played by Kristen Hager, and then we get to meet Holden, who's played by Stephen Strait.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen like sex in space in a long time. Many movies I haven't seen. It's crazy to see it. It's kind of cool.
Did you see Prometheus? I think but it's not zero gravity.
It wasn't zero G. How about that? I haven't seen zero G sex.
I would say I haven't either.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it was very neat, very cool. Funny how the gravity kicked in.
Sucks him right back onto the bed.
Yeah, and he probably got like hurt. You know, he probably got like oh man, she's just like, oh, my balls kind of thing.
It sounded like they were having a real good time though.
They did.
They did.
They definitely did.
I know, even though aside of like maybe how different that looks because they were like floating in the air, it was kind of cool with like all the sheets around them. I don't know. I just think it looks really cool. It looks really awesome. They did a nice job with it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That's all I can say about it.
That's beautiful.
So we even get that he is obviously high up in the ship because he tells her, hey, I am not going to give you a promotion just because you're sleeping
just
with...
saying.
Yeah, just saying. I'm just saying. And...
she's like, oh, then I'll take that back.
yeah, exactly. So we get to learn that he's the second officer on the ship. And it's an ice mining ship. I wrote down the name of the company. It was the Pure Clean Company, I think.
Yeah, I think the
PUR Clean KLEEN, which I saw all over their uniforms.
So probably the Pure Clean Company.
Right. So they're just going about their life on the ship. We get to see their XO. So he's the second. So even though we have Holden as the second officer, there's the first officer who's the XO or executive officer.
Yeah.
Okay, you were wondering about that. So
yeah, I was like, what does XO stand for?
Yes.
Yeah, executive officer perfectly makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the CO would be the captain on the ship. So he's the commanding officer. Yeah. But everybody just calls him captain. And I forgot, I think his name was like Macmillan or something like that. I forgot.
Yeah.
McDowell. I think that was his name, McDowell.
He don't last very long.
No. Nobody lasts very long on that ship.
Not on that ship. Which is, and also the XO that gets, kind of taken out because he loses it completely. He's talking to his plants.
Space madness.
Yeah, space madness. Almost like a cabin fever, but up in there.
Up in space, yeah.
Up in space.
He was saying like, hey, there's so much darkness out here. We didn't take any light with us. We needed light for the plants, right? And how funny is it was Jace. I forgot his name. I totally wrote it down. But
he's from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, the guy from Breaking Bad. I totally
Mike.
wrote down his name. He played Mike. And I'm trying to find his name in here, and I can't.
I know, and I saw it too on your.
Yeah. Anyway, I totally forgot his name, but he.
How dangerous though to take that gun and shoot the screen.
Yeah.
Because I mean.
The viewfinder.
Yeah, the viewfinder thing.
Yeah.
How dangerous, right? Who knows? I mean, I'm assuming the material that these things are made out of are extremely durable, but still.
But still, it could have punctured a hole in the hull, and they would be sucked out into space or something.
So I mean, I guess talking to your plants, not that bad. Yeah. Shooting a gun inside the spaceship.
Not smart.
Not smart. And that'll get you. How does it called when they take people? Well, they take him out, wrap him,
yeah.
take him.
Oh, they totally took him.
That'll get you commissioned.
Oh, it's Jonathan Banks.
There we go, Jonathan Banks. Yeah,
I found it. Yeah, and I don't even think they named his character. I think they just called him XO.
Yeah. I don't remember, but he was the XO before.
Yeah, and he didn't last very long because no one on that ship lasted very long.
No, I don't think so. So he would be out too. Right?
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. It's not like they put him on a medical ship and said, okay, we're going to take you back to the space station.
We'll send you out, and then the rest of us will just kind of hang.
No, they probably took him to the med bay, and the med bay just got nuked with everything else.
Yes, absolutely. It's interesting, though. Holden kind of doesn't really want that title, though. The XO title. No. I feel like he was like, no.
He doesn't.
No,
he doesn't want to do it. He just wants to, get by. And we get to see that he's a good leader, and everybody listens to him and respects him. But he doesn't want to be the captain. He doesn't want to be the XO. No. Even though he acts like it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally feel like he has the ability to do that. And it's so young, too, which just had so much potential to grow, But, yeah, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it.
He doesn't.
That's why he says, he's the acting XO, which means, I'm peacing out maybe whenever you find a new one.
Yeah, exactly. We get to see the distress signal come from a ship, and it's called the Scopuli, which we think, I think we're headed towards that whole help me thing. It seemed like it was Julie Mao.
Well, it said, at least in the captions, it
Yes.
did say it was Julie Mao saying, please
Okay.
help me. Or
So it is supposed to be her.
it is.
Okay, so that is the ship then. Okay, good. I was gonna say like we don't really know, but if it said it was Julie's voice,
Yeah, it said it was her.
Then the Scott be like, is this ship she was on? And that's where all like that engine voodoo stuff was happening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they get on the ship. And we have Amos, is it Amos with them? And we got Naomi, we got Alex, we got Shed.
Yeah.
And then we have Holden. Leading the team, right?
Yeah.
So they take off on the night, they go on the ship, they investigate, they have guns in space. Fantastic. The guns don't seem like they've changed very much in 300 years.
No, that's good.
That's all you need to puncture somebody's skin and kill them,
Yeah.
right?
Pretty simple.
And then they find the distress beacon is actually not coming from the ship, it's coming from a device on the bridge.
Yeah.
And it's a trap.
Yeah, because
Right.
I think they said, like, how could somebody get a distress call when the communicator's dead?
Exactly. All the screens were off.
Everything was gone.
So it's pirate bait.
Yes.
And Captain McDowell was totally right, and they shouldn't have gone back there. And it was just because Holden's a good guy, even though he acts like a hard ass.
Yeah, but he had something in the back of his brain being like, yo, there might be somebody there. I'm gonna, log the distress call? And everybody gave him a lot of crap for it.
Yes, and you know what? Nobody. They did give him a lot of crap for it because they wanted to check. But then Naomi, when he confided in her later on, and he said, "I'm the one who did it," she's like, "You're the rat who did it. You better tell nobody that you did." Not
She
that
gave
it
him some
mattered.
major side eye.
I thought it was funny how he was a rat and there was a rat on the ship right behind him when he was doing it.
Oh, I didn't know. Now that you mention it, yeah, it's totally funny. And
Yeah.
what was he eating though? Oh no, drinking the matches.
It looked like the head of a match. He was like scraping it off and putting it in his coffee because he wanted to stay up longer and he couldn't sleep anyway. He wanted a super, it was some kind of sedative.
Yeah.
He asked the doctor, I guess Shed's the doctor, and he
Yeah.
asked Shed for it, and he said, "No, I don't. Sorry, we ran fresh out of those."
Yeah, but he offers him something, and he doesn't take that. So it must be very specific what he wants,
Yes.
and what he likes.
Well, whatever he was giving him, it seemed like it was a little illegal.
Yeah, it didn't seem like what he was looking for sure. It seemed, maybe it was to stay up
Maybe it was.
said?
I don't know.
or to go to sleep.
I think he wanted to go to sleep.
He wanted to go to sleep. Okay, so
Yeah.
the other thing, assuming it looks like white powder. I'm just saying it might
No.
keep you awake.
It's space cocaine.
Space Coke.
So they end up finding out that these pirates are coming at them, and they had nothing around them for 1 million clicks, right?
Yeah. It said, or something really large like that. But then, so apparently it was like a space protector shield or some sort of shielding device or cloaking kind of deal.
That's it.
Yes, that allowed whatever it was to get through their sensors and
Pop out of nowhere.
pop out of nowhere.
Yeah, and totally get the drop on them.
Yeah, and that's when they mention that he says the only people that could have this kind of superior kind of cloaking or shielding device is Mars.
Mars, exactly.
So I
And-
think, yeah.
And we haven't met anybody from Mars yet. We know that they're a military power, so they probably do have this kind of cloaking device.
But independent from Earth and the belt.
Exactly, Earth and the belt. So
I almost called it the Beltoid. I was like, okay.
and they shoot 3 torpedoes at them.
Yeah.
Or missiles, have you, whatever they are. We think they're going to destroy the Knight,
Yeah.
but they don't. They go right by them, and they're actually aimed at the Canterbury.
Yeah.
They totally destroy the Canterbury.
I know. It's like, and right before they destroy the Canterbury, it's like, what's her name? Aid, so Holden's girlfriend, she's like, I have something to tell you or something like that, and then boom, all dead. And I was like, what did she have to tell her?
All gone.
I was like, is it I'm pregnant? Is it I love you? Is it I have a secret that will save everyone? Who knows?
Yeah. Wow. We have no idea if she's going to live past this episode, even though it's pretty obvious they got destroyed. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe she could survive. I just don't feel like her as an actress. I don't want to feel, because I feel like a personal connection to her. We're actually supposed to get her, Kristen Hager, here for being human a couple of seasons ago.
You're like, hey, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, you can't die now. You have to come back from the dead.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. So, but she's probably dead.
Yeah, I mean, I would put a lot of money on that ship not surviving.
Everybody's dead. There's probably thousands of people that worked on that ship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, there's so much stuff that happened in this episode, and that's pretty much it. That's how the episode ended.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you want to add about the recap?
I don't know. I really liked it. I thought there's a lot going on, but I think it's super entertaining, and I think it's kind of going back to more of like a traditional, I guess, sci-fi programming with like, you know, in space kind of deal, and kind of I think a lot of what I read was like regaining kind of its core sci-fi. So nice work, guys.
Yeah, it's a really good show. Let's go ahead and get into our predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I'm in space.
You're in space. You love the predictions, ringer, huh? That's great.
I did. I felt in space.
Yes, there you go. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with you. What are your predictions?
Ooh, that is very good. I think, well, obviously, I feel like we're gonna find Julie Mal, but I think there's gonna be another kind of force at work here. So I think that Mars is gonna be like interjecting, I guess, in between the connections with everybody. So I feel like we're gonna start seeing a lot more of Mars, and I think that blue power thing is because even the torpedoes were blue.
Yes.
You know, and I know that might be nothing, but we're going to see, obviously, a lot more of Mars in the coming episodes. And I have a feeling they're going to kill off a good amount of people. I think they're not going to be, you know, they're going to be no shame here.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I like that, but I feel like that's going to happen. Because, I mean, they just literally knocked out a whole ship.
They killed a lot of people. And I want to, you know what? If you want to compare it to Game of Thrones in space, that's probably the right thing to do. Because I hear on Game of Thrones, I don't watch it, but I hear on Game of Thrones, they kill a lot of people. Like,
they kill everybody you like, they kill.
They kill. Is it every episode or like every other episode they kill somebody?
It's often.
Yeah.
It's often, yeah. So I feel like this is probably going to be the same. I mean, I was kind of warming up to the people on the ship and then boom, gone.
I feel like what's going to happen next time is, we're going to find out that there's this whole scheme behind what Mars is doing, and it's going to be like analogous to like geopolitical, like war type stuff, and like proxy conflicts and wars similar to what's going on now. And obviously, there's a whole terrorist aspect. We're going to see more of that play out. I think we're going to see a lot more of the UN Deputy Director, Avara Sala, and what she has to do with this OPA. I think we're going to find out what the hell OPA is next time, because I don't know what the heck that stands for.
It says like Outer Planets Alliance or something.
Okay, you know already.
So hey, yeah. But I mean, we don't really know like what that means or who that is. It's just that's what I think they're called. I think the Belters are going to uprise. And I think Earth is going to start losing control of its people.
So then there'll be 3 different planetoid factions as opposed to just 2, pretty much, like Mars and Earth, and one of them controls the series.
Right. I think that's what we're going to see. Because just with that preacher guy, you know, he's just preaching the choir and crowd. I think that's going to be just a little bit of foreshadowing of like the sentiment of the rest of the people. Yeah,
I think you're right. And it's a short season. It's only going to be 8 episodes, I feel. We're actually going to be starting to talk about it again. Like episode 2 is tomorrow. We weren't planning on this, guys. So we're going to be talking about it again on Thursday night, perhaps. We haven't locked down a time yet, but we'll go ahead and let you know. Until then, I think that's about it for all our predictions.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So, Maria, where can everybody find you?
Okay, guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at MGCVSST.
And you guys can find me at Sean Austin O. That's SeanAustino on Twitter and Instagram. And be sure to check out my book, City of Angels and Discontent. That is on Amazon. Download it, write me a review, let me know what you guys think. And until then, we'll see you guys next time for The Expanse.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.